UFC in 2026. The things we want back in the UFC in 2026 in the Paramount era. The ESPN era is over. They got this 7 point whatever billion-dollar deal. And I say we start bringing some things back. You know, after Dana White's announcement the other day when he went on live and he announced Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer, it was quite depressing, actually. Just going on live. That's kind of how all of the UFC events and the UFC fights are announced these days. Is Dana White will go on Instagram Live, or he'll go on whatever social media account. He'll go live and he'll just stare off into space, announcing these fights. We got it in February 21st. We got Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer, and then whatever women's fight is in that co-main event. But it's depressing. And honestly, I was looking in his eyes and it looks like he's reading off a teleprompter going into that interview and going through it. And so I'm fed up with this promo. I'm fed up with Dana. He needs to step it up here in 2026. I have fears that he won't. I have fears that he's getting this $7 billion and he's just kind of gonna milk the UFC for all it's worth. You know, you got more commercialization of the UFC with this meta deal that they got with the Meta Apex. That promises way more Apex events here in 2026, which is not a good thing. But let's get into it. Things we want back in 2026. Number one, we want face-to-face opponent interviews back. This is one of the best ways to promote fights. Obviously, you get two guys who are gonna fight, and even better, you get two guys who are gonna fight that don't like each other, and you're gonna sit them right across from one another, and they're gonna do an interview. Some of the best ones that I can think of is the Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw face-to-face interview, the John Jones, Daniel Cormier face-to-face interview. That's given some of the best quotes from the DC and John Jones rivalry. And then I can remember, I think Darren Till and Jorge Masvidal did one back in 2019. That was a fun one. The famous Holloway and Taporia interview that birthed the "Who is Joe" meme. That was a good one too. You know, they don't have to be face-to-face. McGregor versus Nate Diaz. Those were some of the best face-to-face interviews and face-to-face promo that we've gotten. And like I said, it doesn't have to be face-to-face. It doesn't have to be literally right in front of one another. But like, do it on Skype. Do it on a webcam, like the Taporia Holloway one was, like the McGregor Diaz one was. It's so clear how beneficial this would be for the UFC, and it wouldn't be difficult. And so, yeah, number one, bring back the face-to-face opponent interviews. Number two, the second thing we want back in 2026 and in this Paramount era is better press conferences. You know, looking back, some of the best press conference, some of the most iconic press conference moments have came from these press conferences. And many of the best moments are between fighters who aren't even fighting each other. You know, you got the famous McGregor and Jeremy Stevens exchange. You got I remember the O'Malley and Garbrandt. They did a face-off. You have the Izzy Strickland beef back and forth at the UFC 276 press conference back in 2022. Some of the, like I said, some of the most iconic moments come from these press conferences where, and I think there's a multitude of things that go into it. I think the reporters are not asking good questions like they used to. A lot of it is, Hey, Sean Strickland, how does it feel to fight in Las Vegas? Hey, Jose Aldo, how does it feel to fight in Brazil? How would it feel if you beat your opponent on Saturday? How would that feel if you won this fight? Like, some of the most basic, G-rated, generic questions that they ask. And I think another thing that contributes to this is the UFC 287 press conference incident. I'm sure that there was more incidents like this of this happening, but I remember at the UFC 287 press conference, Adesanya was up there, Pereira was up there. It was their rematch. You had Masvidal. I believe Masvidal was fighting Gilbert Burns. You had those two up there. And then Kevin Holland, I can't remember who Kevin Holland was fighting, but he was up there on that stage. And Holland and Masvidal, they had a run-in. earlier in the week, earlier during fight week. And one of the reporters who was trying to be exciting, who was trying to build a storyline, I believe he asked Masvidal, he said, hey, we all saw you had a little run-in with Kevin Holland. What happened there? You know, in trying to stir up some excitement, trying to have an exciting moment or have an exciting back and forth. And maybe create a storyline for a future fight. And right as they both start to respond, Dana goes, "What question are you asking? Who are you asking that question to? Why are you asking that question? These guys aren't even fighting each other." And Dana completely shut it down. He turned what could have been an exciting moment, an exciting, maybe a viral clip, perhaps, a good moment. He stepped in and he ruined it because they weren't fighting one another. They were fighting two different people. And so for some reason, for whatever reason, I don't think Dana likes those types of things anymore, where two different fighters who aren't necessarily going after each other, are beefing on stage, and there's drama on stage between them. It could be a safety thing. I know the UFC 279 fight week was absolutely insane. There was all types of brawls and all types of scuffles going on backstage. I remember the press conference had to be canceled that week. Poor Li Jingliang with his new suit. If you know, you know. But I think over the years and since there's been occasions like that, Dana White will shut that down. I think reporters have gotten they've sort of shied away and cowered away from asking fun, interesting questions that will stir up drama. And so, reporters, be better. Journalists, be better. Dana, let it be fun again. Let it be, years ago, I remember when they would have these seasonal press conferences, you had fights breaking out, like Chiesa and Kevin Lee. They had a little scuffle breakout on the press conference stage. And just make it fun again. Like let these guys go back and forth. Let them beef. Like if two fighters try to fight on stage, that's fun. We want to see that. That's why you hire security. That's why you do these things. Make press conferences great again. And then also, according to this point, bring back those post-fight press conferences. Those big post-fight press conferences, not just one fighter on the stage at a time, but where winners and losers are up on that stage. I think of some fun ones like the Daniel Cormier, Ryan Bader back and forth. That was fun. That's a viral thing that happened. Also, the Michael Bisping, Luke Rockhold 2 post-fight press conferences. That is one of the best press conferences you can see. So many good lines by Bisping, so many funny lines by Rockhold, who just got knocked out. I know after UFC 196, where McGregor had his first loss, there was a post-fight press conference there. That was really fun to watch. And just, these press conferences have been struggling. They've been turning into just 30 minutes of reporters asking fighters the most random, silly, generic questions. And we need to make press conferences great again. Number 3, and this is what I talked about before, but actual fight announcements. Like I said before, all these fight announcements are just turning into Dana White sitting in his office, reading off of a teleprompter, soulless. No excitement, no hype to these things. Sorry. No hype to these things. And it's just sad. I believe that these truly big fights, they should be announced at press conferences. I think of this last press conference that happened in December. It was Patty and Gaethje. It was Nunes and Harrison up there, and then it had the 325 main event as well with Volkanovski and Lopez. And it was one of those seasonal type press conferences where they had multiple events up there. But the press conference started, and before they really got into it, there was still 2 empty seats left. And I didn't know. I didn't know who was fighting. I didn't see any of the leaks. I didn't see anything like that. But there was 2 empty seats left. And how we got that announcement was John Anik up there. He announced them and he hyped it up. It was Holloway versus Oliveira. the rematch. And I remember watching that, and I remember being actually excited and being actually hyped. Like, man, like what fight's about to be announced? Like, this is crazy. A far cry, a stark difference from Dana White, announcing these from his office, from his poorly lit, 480p video live stream from his office. They don't really put a lot of effort into their fight announcements anymore. I think that Holloway Oliveira 2 announcement was probably one of the best announcements that we've seen in the past few years, just because they had some theatrics to go along with it. Like, who's in these empty seats? Like, what's going on? But you had that, and then I can also think of the McGregor-Khabib fight announcement. It's kind of funny. They had this whole press conference. And multiple people during the press conference were asking about this was in 2018. They were asking about the McGregor-Khabib fight, and they were like, "Is it done? Is it close to being done?" And Dana was on the stage just lying. He was like, "Yeah, I believe we'll get it done." And then at the end of the press conference, he says, "We got one more thing to show you." And he surprised us. It was an actual surprise with a good fight. They put together a good promotional package, a good video, and that's how they announced it. And I think we're missing a lot of that, a lot of those theatrics and a lot of those exciting fight announcements that we used to get. And so step it up. No more fight announcements from your dimly lit office, Dana White. Number 4, and finally, actual fight promotion. We want actual fight promotion here in 2026. I remember, well, I don't remember. I wasn't an avid fan back then. But whenever I first started watching, I remember watching a commercial that the UFC did for UFC 189. It was McGregor versus Aldo. And the UFC put so much effort into their promotion back then that they shut down a whole Las Vegas block to film a commercial for a main event with Aldo and McGregor. And looking back on it, even today, it's better than probably 98 or 99% of the UFC promotion that we get from the actual company today. That's one of the greatest trailers for a fight that we've ever gotten. And that was over 10 years ago. And that's just sad. And then, today we get, like I said before, these basic announcements. We get these basic trailers with generic music and generic voiceovers. And, when the fans on social media, when the fans make better promotional material, they make better edits for these fights than the $20 billion company, that's a real problem. You got freaks on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, Twitter. They put together these promos, and it's like, what are they feeding these TikTok editors? What are they feeding these guys? And then you look at what the UFC is putting out, and it's just a piss poor product. Like, it's not good. It's bad. You got, like I said, you got these generic fight promotional videos, generically edited, generically narrated. And it's just not good, Like I said, you got these editors online making better promo than the UFC itself, and that's a real problem. And so it's been grim. It's been dark for the UFC as far as promotion and as far as promoting fighters. Like, it's been grim. But the UFC, they've got this $7 billion check. They've got this $7 billion deal with Paramount. And hopefully they can put some of that money towards promotion, and they can put some of that money towards growing their company and growing some fighters, promoting their company. It'll be much better for the UFC. It'll be much better for the fans. And so, yeah, if you disagree, please comment below. If you liked it, please like it. Please subscribe. Thank you.